Hello everyone, welcome you all back to my channel Prerayati. It has been a very long time since we met last, and the purpose for meeting today is obviously because from tomorrow onwards mains exam is starting, and I wanted to give you some very practical and last moment tips that needs to be given and that needs to be reiterated every time before we start giving the mains papers. So let's quickly start with the tips. The first tip that I want to give you is about time management. It's very important to manage your time properly when you are giving the mains exam. And when you consider the GS papers, GS 1 to 4, in your GS 3, first, second and the third papers, you have 20 questions which are to be answered in 3 hours. So just make sure that every hour you are answering at least 7 questions no matter what. And when it comes to your GS4, that is ethics paper, you have to make sure that you are completing all the case studies in 1.5 hours in the best case, or in 1 hour 45 minutes in the worst case, so that you are left with at least 1 hour 15 minutes for your part A questions, so that the quality of either the case studies or the part A questions is not compromised. When I say that in the GS papers 1, 2 and 3 you have to finish 7 questions in 1 hour, it's definitely easier said than done. So it is very difficult to complete 7 questions in 1 hour, but you will still have to do it. The way you go about planning it is, first I would advise you all to attempt the 15 marker questions, because they definitely carry more weightage and you have the scope of writing an analytical answer in such questions. So it is better to attempt the 15 markers, because if you run short of time at the last, then it is not okay to just write a page or half a page in the 15 marker question. So you will end up losing a lot of marks. Also, if we start with a 10 marker question, we will be tempted to write more and more in the 10 marker question, and by the time we start with the 15 marker question, we will be left with very less time. So it is always better to start with a 15 marker question and then come to the 10 marker. So in the worst case also, you must maybe you will write a flow chart or maybe answer in 1 page or 1.5 page in the last 2 questions or 3 questions in your 10 marker question, but in the rest of the questions you have to follow the introduction, body and conclusion format for all the questions, and there should be no compromise in this respect. The next step that I want to give you is on speed or completion of the paper. बहुत लोगों को ये confusion रहता है कि quality of the answers पे focus करना है या फिर paper complete करना है. But let me tell you one thing, that both of them are non-negotiable. आपको paper complete भी करना है और सारे questions में आपको quality answers भी देना है. Now, how important this is, आपको कई लोगों को ये भी लग सकता है कि I have never completed the paper in a test series, so how is it possible for me to do it in the exam? And even for those who have completed in the test series, even they will find it very difficult in exam condition to complete the paper. But this is non-negotiable. आपको कुछ भी करना है, लेकिन you have to complete the paper. And for this, the mindset with which you go into the exam hall is very important. तो जैसे मैं खुद I'll tell you my own example. Before going into the exam hall, I used to make my mindset so strong that I will die in the exam hall, but I am not going to come out of the hall without completing my paper. और उसके लिए मैं बहुत सारे गाने गाती रहती थी अपने माइंड में कि ये कर दिखाने का मौका जब भी किस्मत देती है, गिन के तैयारी के दिन खुद को मोहलत देती है, मांगती है लागत में तुझसे हर बूंद पसीना. ऐसा करके मैं खुद से गाना गा करके खुद को मोटिवेट करती थी कि नो मैटर व्हाट आई हैव टू कंप्लीट द पेपर. So this is what you must also do, that कुछ भी हो जाए you have to complete the paper and come. And for this, your mindset and your willpower will play a very important role. In fact, when I was writing my ethics paper, the person who was in front of me was a differently abled person. So he did not have his right hand and he was writing with his left hand. I was so much motivated by that person कि अगर मतलब इतनी motivated वो बंदा है कि he is writing like that, then I can definitely write. I should definitely write. So like this, you have to motivate yourself and you have to complete the paper. The next thing is, the next step, the third tip is about the presentation. So presentation along with content is something that you have to ensure in all the answers. So when it comes to presentation, definitely you have to follow an intro, body, conclusion format for as many questions as you can. excluding maybe the last one or two questions where you are seriously running out of time. But apart from that, you must follow this approach. And also, while attempting any question, as soon as you read a particular question, some things will have to naturally come to your mind. These include, depending upon the paper and the question, any reports that you can think of, any indices like you can think of, committees, judgments, articles in, if you're talking about paper 2, all the datas or whatever it could be. It could be examples, case studies, some interesting way forward, practical, innovative way forward that you can think. So all of these things. So some important names. This we have discussed a lot when we were discussing ICANN every day. So if you are answering any economic question, then names like Thomas Piketty, Angus Deaton, C. Rangarajan, Raghuram Rajan, they must all come to your mind. So depending upon their relevance, you have to use them in your answers. Similarly, if you're talking about agriculture, then Swaminathan, Ashok Gulati, all such names must come to your mind. So you can use such expert opinions in your answers also to add value to your answer. So whenever you are looking and reading any question, these things must automatically come up in your mind, and based on the relevance to the or according to the demand of the question, you will have to use them. So this is one thing. Second is, there are few things that you can write in some common papers. For example, if it is geography or if it is history, society, in such papers, in agricultural and the cropping patterns, in all that you can make use of maps very widely, be it India maps or world maps. So you have to learn to draw India map and world map within 30 seconds or 1 minute. And in these questions, you have to draw a map. So these are some of the things that you have to remember. Next, when it comes to diagram. So here again, you have to experiment. You would have already practiced a lot during your mock test series. So you have to see, depending upon the question, what kind of diagrammatic representation you can give. Be it pie charts, be it bar graphs, or be it timelines. So anything you have to write according to the demand of the question. And a big no-no is drawing a hub and spoke. I have seen some students who replace entire answers with hub and spoke. So if the question is asking what are the causes, consequences, and suggest a way forward, they will draw 3 hub and spoke, one for the causes, next for consequences, and then for the suggestions. So this is a strict big no-no. You should not replace your answer with a hub and spoke. And hub and spoke is a very primitive way of presenting anything. So diagram is not hub and spoke, or rather hub and spoke is not a diagram. So this is something that you will draw maybe in the last question when you're seriously running out of time. But otherwise, hub and spoke is not a diagram as such. So don't make use too much of it. In the name of diagram, don't draw a hub and spoke in every answer. So this is a strict don't that you have to practice. So these are some of the tips with respect to presentation of your answer. The next tip that I want to give you is on the content that you have to incorporate in the papers. Now it is needless to say how important the content of an answer is. It is rightly said that content is the king. So content बहुत ज़्यादा important है. But here again, one thing that is very commonly asked by many of the students is, should we focus on the width of the answer or on the depth of the answer? I have seen some students who are writing just 2 to 3 points and they are explaining each of these points in one paragraph. So this is not something that should be practiced when you're writing in the exam. UPSC is going to see the number of dimensions that you have covered in a particular answer. So it is okay if you're writing a line or two for each point, but try to cover more and more dimensions, try to cover more and more points with just maybe 1, 2 or 3 line explanation maximum for each of these points. So never compromise the dimensions that you can give to your answer because you want to explain each of the points in greater detail. Don't make assumptions that the evaluator will not know something and you really have to explain it. Don't do that. So rather than explaining just 3 points in 2 to 3 pages with one paragraph explanation, add more points, more dimensions into your answer. Make your answer multidimensional. It's okay if you're writing just 2 to 3 line explanation for each of it. So this is one thing that you have to remember. Now I was talking about dimensions. So how do you add dimensions to your answer? So this you would have already practiced while you were practicing your test series. Another way to ensure that you don't miss out on the important dimensions is to think from the stakeholders who are involved in the particular question. So, whenever you read a question, there will be some common stakeholders, be it the people, be it the government, be it the private sector, the civil society, the countries, and other various countries which are involved, so the bureaucracy. So these are the various stakeholders in a particular society. When you think from the point of view of various stakeholders who could be a part of that question, then you will not miss out on the important dimensions which you would otherwise miss out on. So always think from various stakeholders so that you don't miss out on the multiple dimensions that you can give to your answer. So this is about the content tip about the content for your framing your answer. Now I'm going to give you some specific tips on the essay paper, because that is what is the paper tomorrow. So when we talk about the essay paper, the first important thing is about the topic selection. Now here again, many students, they want to take up a topic just because it is very different from the other topics, and the other aspirants will be writing on the very common topic, so they just wanted to be different and they are choosing a topic which they know less about, which is different from the other topics. So don't do this mistake. Don't think in the exam hall that this is a very common topic and everybody will be writing on the same thing. So don't come under such a thought process in the exam hall. Choose the topic in which you are very comfortable, in which you know that you have the right content to frame a very good essay. So this is one thing. Don't go by thinking that many people will be writing the same essay. The second thing is that many of the topics which could be from your GS syllabus. For instance, if an essay is asked on education, or if an essay is asked on agriculture, if an essay is on the water disputes, then there is a lot of tendency among the students to frame an essay which is like a GS answer. So there is a reason why UPSC has given us a separate essay paper apart from the GS papers. So if you really have to write the GS content, then what is UPSC looking for in the GS papers? So there is something different that you have to write in the essay paper. So a big no is not to make your essay look like a GS answer. It is not an elaborate GS answer. It is an essay paper. So don't make it look like essay by dumping a lot of data, dumping a lot of figures and facts and all those points that you would otherwise write in a GS answer. The demand of the essay paper is to keep the paper as original and as innovative as possible. So never be under these inhibitions that I'm not supposed to write like this, I'm not supposed to write like that. There is no rules when it comes to essay. You can interpret the essay in whatever way you want. You can explore all your innovations, and all your original ideas can be written in the essay. And that's what you should precisely do. So this thing you have to keep it in mind, that don't make essay look like an elaborate GS answer. The next thing is, how do you plan your essay? So I have seen many students who write the first essay in 2 hours and then they struggle with the second essay in just 1 hour. So definitely the second essay is going to suffer very badly. So this mistake should never be done in the exam hall. So you have to manage your time so that both the essays get their time that they really demand. Now here again, what people do is they will plan the first essay very elaborately, write it aram se. After 2 hours, they will start planning the second essay. Now what happens is, when you know that you have just 1 hour remaining with you to plan the second essay and completely write the second essay, your mind in that point of time, you are under a lot of pressure and tension. It is not going to work very freely. Thoughts won't flow very freely at that point of time because you are under tension and pressure. So what I used to do is brainstorm the first topic, then brainstorm the second topic, then write the first topic and write the second topic. Because I know that when I am under tension, my mind is not going to work, thoughts are not going to flow freely. So when I brainstorm the second essay at that point of time, I might not cover multiple dimensions. So I would suggest you rather brainstorm both the essays at one go in the beginning itself, when the thoughts flow freely and when your mind is fresh. So the way I used to divide the entire paper was 20 minutes of brainstorming for the first essay, 20 minutes of brainstorming for the second essay, and 5 minutes here and there. So 45 minutes gone. After that, you still have more than 1 hour 5 minutes left for each of the essays only to be written. So this way you can perfectly plan your essay, you can plan the exact flow, you have allotted good amount of time to brainstorm both the essays without hurrying up and compromising on your second essay. So this is how you can plan your essays very well. Apart from that, once I had made a mistake where I planned the entire essay and I started writing the entire essay without counting the number of pages UPSC has given in the answer booklet. When I reached the last page that was allocated to the first essay, I realized that it was the last page and I was still in the body. So first count the number of pages, accordingly decide what should be your font for each paper, and accordingly then you plan the number of pages. So it should not happen that you reach the last page and then you realize that this is actually the last page. So this mistake should not be done. Count the number of pages allotted per essay beforehand. And one more important tip when it comes to essay paper is always have a very original and innovative introduction. So don't think that you are not the kind of person who can start with a story. There is nothing like that. So we all have grown up listening to stories. We do like stories, and we also like articles which begin with something that's very interesting and captivating. And you can definitely do that. Don't underestimate your own potential. So you can start your essay very innovatively and with a lot of originality. And another tip is when you're concluding the essay, try and link it with the introduction, because that will make the essay feel that it is complete in all sense. For example, if you're starting the essay with the story of Ram who was a poor kid, etc. In the end, when you're concluding the essay, you can say that if these things are done in the society by the people and the government, then maybe the fate of Ram will change. So that way, if in the conclusion, you are linking the conclusion with the introduction and you're completing the whole thing. So you have basically weaved a beautiful story where Ram was there in the intro and he was there in the conclusion. So that gives a sense of cohesiveness and completeness to your essay, which is very important. So these were the tips for essay. So these were the tips that I wanted to give you before the exam hall. Though these are the tips which people have been giving you right the day you started preparing for this exam, or since you've been giving mains now. But however, it's very important that these tips must be reiterated in your mind the day before the exam. So this reiteration and keeping that and incorporating that in your mind is very much important. So that is why I thought it is a good time to give you these tips now. And lastly, I also wanted to talk to you about ICANN, because I've been getting a lot of comments from many students about what happened to ICANN, when will it start again. So I have stopped ICANN because my work pressure was too much and it was getting very hectic. So I had to stop it. But I would love to come back soon again and start. And I'm seeing if I can get any assistance, say for making the slides or anything, so that I can manage my time and start the initiative again. So let me see, as and when I feel that work pressure is a little less and I can manage things better, we will start ICANN initiative again. So that's all. And remember to take good sleep before the exam. That's very important. If you're studying till 2 to 3 a.m., then the next day you don't have the energy to write the exam in the exam hall. So have a good sleep and revise properly, and take some things for revision before the papers also. And also eat properly, keep some chocolates during the paper also, so that if you feel very shaky hands and if you're nervous and if you feel loss of energy, you can quickly have a bit of chocolate. So keep your water bottles, and most importantly, go with a very cool frame of mind. Be very confident, be very aggressive towards your paper. It's like you should feel that I'm the Sher or Sherni who is going to hunt that paper. So feel that way and just go and attack the paper. You will do wonderfully. So all the very best. Thank you.